Hello and welcome everybody to a brand new episode of r/ProRevenge. My name is Ryan, the official host here on Reddit Voice, and I look forward to bringing you guys today's top stories. Before I do though, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button as well as make sure you got notifications turned on, that way you could stay up to date with all the latest and the greatest. Our first story of the evening from Little Bunny Blue is called I Got a Sex Offender Arrested. About a year ago, I finally decided to get out on my own for good and true because living with other people causes me unending stress. But the only way to get into a place quickly was to take a unit on the edge of the not-so-nice district of town. I figured since there was a police station literally across the road, I would be safe. Needless to say, however, I don't live there anymore. At first, everything seemed fine. I got all my stuff moved in, started learning how to cook stuff more complicated than chicken soup. It was all good. Most everyone in my row of units tended to keep to themselves. Apart from my neighbor on one side having noisy shower sex at 2 in the morning, everyone left me alone. Except this one dude. He was in the unit on the other side from the shower sex people, and he was, in retrospect, way too enthusiastic to have a single lady move in next door. He was constantly coming over just to say hi and see how I was settling in, and often had to be physically pushed out of the door. He stank of booze and took advantage of the summer weather and sealed windows. No shit, this place had locked windows and tenants didn't get keys to them to come wandering in when I was working. He drove me nuts, but he seemed relatively harmless. The first sign that something wronger than the guy being completely unable to get the message to F off and leave me alone was when the cops came around to try and serve a warrant on him. I don't know exactly what came of it, but he swore blind they'd actually been after the previous tenant and he hadn't come out because he was sleeping, which in retrospect I was an idiot for believing, because I'm a heavy sleeper and they woke me up. Then he asked if he could use my computer to check his email because his was in the shop. I let him because it got him to shut up and let me work faster. I didn't think much of this until one night when he and the guy from the unit on the other side of him got a bit drunk and came over asking to watch Top Gear. The other guy was very nice and friendly, even drunk, but he got louder and more raucous until he crossed the line and made some jokes about raping the other guy. I told him not to make those jokes and to get out, and while he was leaving, I heard the words, "I'm not joking. I'll do it if he doesn't shut up." The next day, I spoke to the other dude and found out his computer had been confiscated by the police. The neighbor then promptly disappeared for a month. And I had the real estate agents asking me if I had any idea where he'd gone and why he wasn't paying rent. He then promptly reappeared, paid his owing rent, and went around boasting that he had so many parking tickets they'd arrested him. I don't know about the law, but I know you don't get a month in jail for tickets. I still would have let it pass, except I came down with the gastric flu and was very sick for a week. Every time the neighbor turned up, I had to tell him to go away. This week was also the week a tornado hit upstate, and the heavy winds caused a lot of property damage all over our city. In between the noise and the flu, I didn't get more than about 10 minutes of sleep for the entire week. The neighbor turned up at 11 p.m. one night demanding to let me in, and in my miserable, sick, sleep-deprived state, I told him to F right off. The next day, the seat and tires of my motorcycle were cut to ribbons, even though the police and I both knew damn well who did it. Without any physical evidence or a witness, they couldn't actually do anything. Revenge was now going to be mine. First, I let neighbor use my computer again. He had a habit of not signing out of his email, so instead of doing what I usually did and signing it out for him, I left him logged in and called an old school friend. Said school friend is now a cop. I explained the situation to him, and as soon as I named names, he told me to stay logged in and that he'd be right over. 2 hours later, my computer was being examined by a police department technician who downloaded pretty much everything the guy had ever written to anyone. I didn't see much, but what I did see was sick. I then gave statements to a few officers and found out when the neighbor was in jail for parking tickets, he was actually in trouble for drugging and trying to sexually assault a girl in a local bar. He had only gotten out because his mom posted bail, despite him being a registered sex offender. The prison he'd been in didn't even have a low security wing. He'd obviously lied to the real estate agents about what was actually going on because any criminal record beyond parking or speeding tickets made them reject you for rental. Neighbor was arrested again for something they wanted to pin on him but hadn't been able to until they got the emails. I got subpoenaed as a witness and he got carted off to await trial. And then, just to add insult to injury, my policeman friend called the real estate agents about his record and he got evicted. I saw him in court last week when I gave my testimony, and he lost his shit when he realized I was the one who had finally gotten the police the evidence they needed to send him down. I then got the glorious pleasure of hearing him sentenced to 10 years. TLDR, criminal neighbor knifes my motorbike when I won't let him visit at 11 p.m. I give police access to his email, and he gets arrested and loses everything. Edit. I ran into the lawyer who was prosecuting the case just now at the shops. Looks like that jerk's getting deported back to his home country to serve his term there. How beautiful. Edit 2. The prosecutor didn't tell me where he's being deported to because it's actually against the law for him to reveal most case details. However, judging by the soon-to-be flying the F out of here bastard's accent, he's gonna be freezing his bollocks off somewhere Germanic. Ouch. Our next story of the evening comes to us from Tav Boom, and it's called Karma Strikes Yet Again. After reading a lot of stories on here, I decided to share one of my own. Happened just this last weekend. So, this weekend I was supposed to pick up my mom from my grandparents' place since my dad was out of town and the place is 100 kilometers away from our city. Mom has a driver's license but does not drive. Since I don't trust my car to leave the city with it, I proceed to take my dad's car that he left at home just so I could go pick up my mom. Since I would not be using my own car for the duration, I decide to give it to my girlfriend to go shopping and such while I'm gone. So we wake up Sunday morning, as we live together, get in my car, and I drive us to my parents' place to pick up my dad's car. I leave in my dad's car, and girlfriend leaves in mine. I don't even make it out to the city, and I get a call from her asking if I could come back since she had been in an accident. I head back since the site of the accident was at the very end of the street we lived on. Once I get there, I find out that once she reached the end of the street, she made a right turn and hit the first 2 cars parked on the right. Honestly, I didn't know how to contain my laughter. I mean, hitting a parked car. No, 2 parked cars. That takes skill. So, I proceed to talk with the owners of the cars and offer to pay for everything since my girlfriend was at fault. I had no problem going to the police, except for the 3 to 6 hour waiting time every time you go for the accidents department, but offered to fill out an Am I a Bill form, which I hope I pronounced correctly. This is something we have in my country, where if you have an accident, both sides fill out the form, and then they're on their way about it without contacting the police. I lived in the capital city, and we had lots of accidents on a daily basis. Since it was Sunday, and all the insurance places were closed, I couldn't acquire such a form, so I proceeded to let them photograph my insurance, exchanged phone numbers with them, and assured that we were neighbors, and that tomorrow I would contact them with the form to fill it out. All is fine, and I leave for my grandparents' place. On the way there, I contact a friend that works for the insurance, and he mails me a form along with a reference for a service station that would have their cars repaired in a day. I proceed to call the guys and tell them that I will be back in a couple of hours with the form, and we'll get everything settled today. To this, one of the guys says, in his position, he is entitled to go to the police, so he'll be waiting for us there, and we should decide to come. This is where I pulled a 180. See, I was trying to be a decent human being and repair the damage that my girlfriend caused. This guy wanted to wait 3 to 6 hours of my Sunday because he felt entitled. Fine. At this point, it may be useful to mention that I have studied law to a master's degree, have the degree, and have been working at a law firm for over 5 years. so I pretty much know the laws better than the cops. Karma starts to kick in. I call the guys on the way back from my grandparents' house and ask them to grab a copy of the form that needs to be filled out for me as well. These forms have a number order to them and come first serve, first serve. They tell me that they can't as there's only one per person, and this is BS. I know this for a fact, as when you ask for such a form, the cops even ask if the other party is here to give one for them too. Regardless, I get there, and they had been waiting for about 2 to 3 hours to request a form. They had number 5657, and I had number 89. Mind you, each of these cases takes about 20 to 30 minutes, lazy bastards. So when their numbers come up, I was just getting my form, and as they entered the office, I also entered and asked the cop, "Am I a part of this incident, as it was a three-way accident? Should I not also be in here when you talk for the other two parts?" The cop proceeds to tell the guys to go out of his office and come back when all three of us have filled out the report. Guy proceeds to wait another 30 minutes for my girlfriend to fill out the report, then we all go in once she's done. Now we get to the core of the problem. The most incompetent police officer I have ever seen. I'm not sure even those among you with no legal background or knowledge will see how pathetic this guy is. People who filed reports, the other two guys, one of them didn't even have a driver's license because it was his mom's car and his girlfriend filled out the report. The other guy had a driver's license and filled out his report, although the car belonged to his parents. This is relevant since the only people legally allowed to file that report is either the owner of the car or the person driving it at the time, which was neither of these two. Cop comes to find my girlfriend guilty, as she truly was, and proceeds to fill out the paperwork. So I ask him, "Officer, do you know the regulations for parking on the street this incident happened on?" "No." "And do you think it's relevant to the case?" Now, I don't exactly remember where he said it, but it was all gibberish, ending up with, "You really dislike cops, don't you?" To which I answered, "I dislike incompetent individuals in any profession." He ends up getting his way, since he was the authority in the situation, and proceeds to ticket my girlfriend and hands the guys copies of insurance to get their cars fixed. Edit. Small detail I left out. Cop did not take pictures of the damaged cars, as is mandatory by law for any case that comes across his desk. He literally has no evidence an accident ever happened apart from the word of the other two guys. I'm sure that any policeman reading this would have a field day. Cue the karma! As soon as I get home, I start to do exactly what society and my profession taught me. Sue him. I filed the lawsuit on Monday and got a date in 4 months. Litigation is non-penal cases, and they're very slow in my country. Usually have time to finish lawsuits is anywhere from 1 to 8 years, depending on how much your lawyer wants to push it. The thing is that she was, in fact, at fault, and had they just taken me up on my offer and not wasted my time, they would have had their cars fixed by now. But they were entitled to the police. Fact, parking regulations on that street, as any other for a matter of fact, states that cars should be parked parallel to the sidewalk, not on it, not perpendicular, but parallel. The street has a few apartment buildings, so there's nowhere near enough parking places, and therefore the neighbors made a convenient place to park perpendicular to the sidewalk to fit more care, taking up a whole lane of traffic, but that's another story, and a little bit of broken English it seems. The thing with conventions is that it's all fine and dandy till something happens and the police get involved. Then law states you must take responsibility for what happened. So basically, there's no chance whatsoever that we'll lose this lawsuit, and I'll drag it out as much as possible. I'm thinking I could get it up to 4 to 5 years, no problem. Now another kink is a law that, until the judge gives a verdict on my lawsuit, the ticket is suspended, so the guys won't be able to fix their cars, not even on their own dime. It is somewhat assimilated to evidence, but at a much lower scale. Also, once the process is over, not only will I be paying for their repair, they will be paying for mine. My main argument in that lawsuit is that a legal concept known as a casualty link, which is applied to my case. It means, yes, my girlfriend caused an accident, but that accident was caused by you parking your cars illegally. If you would have parked legally, there would have been more room, your car would have not been in that spot, and therefore wouldn't have been hit, regardless of my girlfriend's actions. So basically, your actions of parking perpendicular caused the damage to my car. Don't know if it's pro, but surely it is revenge, enacted over years. And there you have it, folks. The end of the epics. Been a while since we had a new one of these, huh? Yeah, sorry about that. I've been really busy, you guys, but I'm trying my hardest to get content out ASAP. As always, if you like this video, you should leave a like on the video and make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on so you could stay up to date with all future videos. My name's Ryan, the official host here on Reddit Voice, and I look forward to seeing you guys in tomorrow's video.